An industry is a group of firms producing products that are close substitute for each other. As they compete for market share, the company's strategies influence each other and include a broad mix of competitive strategies for strategic competitiveness and above average returns. Compared with the general environment, which has an indirect effect on strategic competitiveness and firm profitability, the industry environment has a more direct effect on the competitive actions. So the industry profitability and the intensity of competition in an industry are a function of those five competitive forces, such as threat of new entrants and threat of substitute products, bargaining power of buyers, and bargaining power of suppliers, and rivalry among competing firms in an industry. And we need to analyze these forces by two different perspectives, such as newcomers perspective and incumbent perspective as well. New entrants to an industry are important because more entering competitors generally increase the intensity of competitive rivalry. Also, if the new entrants would not increase new customers' demand, it leads higher price competition and so thus reducing firm profits. The seriousness is affected by two factors: barriers to entry and expected reactions from incumbent firms. There are seven segments, seven types of barriers to entry. If existing firms realized economies of scale, new entrants only should choose small scale at a higher cost per unit. To overcome the incumbent economies of scale, new entrants produced multiple customized product or should enter on a large enough scale. Existing firms' product differentiation gives uniqueness and brand loyalty to the firms on the one hand. On the other hand, this is big burdensome and cost to new entrants. To overcome perceived uniqueness and brand loyalty, new entrants would spend some suffering time with lower profits in a short or even longer term, and higher capital requirements such as physical facilities, inventories, the marketing activities, or availability of capital to enter a new industry are barriers to entry for new entrants. And the switching cost, that are the one-time cost customers will incur when buying from a different supplier. These include the explicit cost at retaining new employees and retooling of equipment, as well as psychological cost of changing relationships. And as existing firms generally have developed effective channels for distributing products, these channels may not be available to new firms entering an industry. Thus, the access may serve as an effective barrier to entry. To overcome, new entrants must spend cost more than those paid by existing firms to establish the proprietary distribution channel. An existing firm also may achieve cost advantages that cannot be duplicated by new entrants. So, cost disadvantages to new entrants. These include proprietary process technology or more favorable access to or control of new raw materials, the best locations, or favorable government subsidies. To overcome, firms may adapt technologies from other industries or develop new sources of raw materials. And government may control new entry through licensing and permit requirements. For example, entering a liquor or banking industry is regulated at both the federal and state levels. Even if a new entrant concludes that it can successfully overcome all the entry barriers mentioned above, it still should consider that there might be some retaliation activities by existing competitors, such as announcement of anticipated future investment to increase capacity, and price cutting and so on. So small firms can avoid the retaliation by serving neglected market segments. For example, Honda first entered the US market by concentrating on small engine motorcycle, which Harley Davidson totally ignored. Bargaining power of suppliers is also important because the extent to which the power is higher or lower influence the focal firm's cost structures. That means our firm should lower the cost to compete with the suppliers if the suppliers are powerful in that industry. Suppliers are powerful when firm profitability is reduced by suppliers' action, when suppliers are large and few, when substitute products are not available, when suppliers' goods are critical to the buyer's marketplace, and when suppliers' products create high switching cost, and suppliers are possible stronger competitor in that industry. Buyer power also greatly influence the focal firm's profitability because firms can increase or decrease the price of the products and services based on the power of buyers. Buyers are powerful when buyers are large and few, when buyers purchase a large portion of the products, when buyers' purchases are a significant portion of suppliers' annual revenues, and when buyers' switching costs are low, and when buyers can be competitors of suppliers' industry. Threat of substitute products increases when buyers can easily switch their suppliers due to the lower price and similar product quality range. The last force is industry rivalry. Industry rivalry increases when the level of competition is high due to the number of competitors, and industry growth slows, and high fixed cost, and low switching cost, and high exit barriers, and so on. Based on the industry analysis with those 5 forces, firms determine whether the industry in which they perform is attractive or not. With your group, please discuss the case, and your company needs to analyze the industry level analysis now. Strategic group is defined that a set of firms emphasizing similar strategic dimensions and using similar strategies. The competition between firms within a strategic group, which we call intra-strategic group, is greater than the competition between a member of a strategic group and other members of outside of the strategic group. We call it inter-strategic group. For example, the competition between Samsung and Apple is much greater than between Apple and Google. And the strategic competition can be measured by the extent of technological leadership, product quality, price, and pride. And the strategic competition can be measured by the extent of technological leadership, product quality, price, distribution channels, and customer service. Also, managers may understand the implication by the analysis. The competitive environment is the final part of the external environment analysis. An industry analysis provides information regarding potential sources of competition. However, a structured competitor analysis enables the firm to focus its attention on those firms with which it will directly compete. Competitor analysis provides how competitors might respond to a firm's strategic moves. Based on the ethical gathering of needed information and data, firms may follow 4 aspects and analyze the competitor environment. The 4 aspects are future objectives, and current strategy, and assumptions, and strengths and weaknesses. The figure shows how the components of competitors' analysis help the firm prepare an anticipated response profile for each competitor. Since we do not have the firm-level information and data on hand, we will analyze the competitor environment by the case study at the end of this course. Thank you and see you again.